So Web Analytics 2.0 is my second book, and the core essence of the book is to try and get marketers to think about data less and to think about marketing more, is to try and figure out how marketing as we know it has changed in dramatic ways and how we have to evolve what we think about as success in also dramatic ways. So it presents this hypothesis that you should think about measurement in a more complex way, right? Don't be satisfied with page views and measure loyalty, and don't be satisfied with just shouting at people, but to engage them to drive long-term outcomes and economic values for the company. So the book is a cluster of ideas that you can implement right away. Like one of the things I try to do is make things commonsensical and simple, even if they are complex, that you can go back and implement right away. In order to think about how marketing on the web, mobile apps, websites, whatever, is dramatically different from TV, magazines, and everything else we do, and that you should expect more. And here are a set of solutions that allow you to accelerate any company, small business or medium size, to think about marketing differently, to think about measurement differently, and as I say in my opening, is figure out how to fail faster and fail forward, because that's the process that's actually quite time consuming in the offline world that we live in. I deal with data, and so I love the fact that it is called the art of marketing, because to me, marketing is about influence. Marketing is about creating experiences, and at the end of it, delivering some values for our companies. But the purity that the word art brings is it allows us to think about influence, think about experience. And the great thing about this particular conference, where I definitely spend a lot of time talking about digital marketing, is that the kind of art that you can execute on digital channels is unparalleled and unmatched by any other channel that exists on the planet. So I very much like the idea of combining these two words together. And the magnificent thing is that people who are coming to the auto marketing conference are trying to figure out how not to allow decisions inside their companies to be made by some few senior leaders sitting in a boardroom, people I call hippos, right? The highest paid person's opinion wins. But rather, in the world that we live in here, in the world that we talk about at this conference, it's not just one person says, oh, my gut says it doesn't work, but to say, let's create a cluster of ideas, let's have an ideas democracy, let's put these pieces of our craft out there and allow consumers to tell us in real time what works, and then we scale that way. And so I love the fact that it's the art of marketing and not the science, because the spirit of it is that you go out, you try things, you learn in real time, and you optimize what you do when it comes to finding people to influence and then using great experiences to convince them that you are God's gift to humanity. The thing I tell you, I sleep pretty well. I do sleep very well, so there aren't a lot of things that keep me up at night. I am super excited and jazzed about the world that we live in, the opportunities we have, and I'm an optimist when it comes to doing things in small and big ways to go out and change the world. So in general, I would say that macro thought. But if there is one thing that sort of worries me a little bit, is that I think we have an entire generation that grew up with a different kind of mindset and different approach to marketing and influence, and we're not changing fast enough. So our consumers are already 2 or 3 years ahead of us when it comes to where they spend time, how they consume media, how they are engaged in influence. And I think the fact that a lot of companies, especially large companies, are 2 or 3 years behind that curve is the thing that worries me a little bit. I wish that we could change faster, but it is quite difficult. So I was saying in my keynote that we're shifting away from shout marketing to conversation marketing, and it is frustrating that it's not happening fast enough. It's not happening fast enough, and that's the one thing that I worry about. I love this question. I do very much love this question. One of the things, so even on my own story, I share with people how I had presented at a couple of conferences, nothing much, and somebody, Andy Beal, he walked up to me and he said, oh my God, you're so passionate, you've got to have a blog. This is 5 years ago. And I said to Andy, me, like, who cares what I have to say, right? I thought only pompous people have blogs. and he persisted, and I started a blog. And the thing that has been my most amazing learning through this process is how incredibly easy it is for every person and brand to go out and create their own platform. In the past, if you wanted reach, if you wanted to put your ideas out there, you needed permission or you needed money, right? Otherwise, only people with those two things would have something from where they can talk, influence people. Now, there's no barrier, right? When I started my blog, 100% free. I have a very active following on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, all free. The only thing I've come to realize that is holding us back from having our own platforms, our personal platforms, or companies from having their own platforms, is their ability to imagine. Because the platforms are free. There are millions of people on these platforms. Do you have the courage to go out and start doing things, right? And do it from this pure perspective of trying to add value to the world, not go out and pimp yourself, right? What is it, the one thing that you're really good at, that you're really passionate about? Because these platforms have no cost, and you don't need anybody's permission to go out and do this. So the fact that these two things happen is a lesson that I have learned that has been very valuable, and I've executed since then. So now I have a professional platform that is my own, and I am a participant in my company's platform. So both of those things exist. But the fact that it is so easy, you don't need permission, and you can start for free is a gift from God to each and every one of us. And the only thing limiting us is our ability to imagine and our ability to go out and contribute something of value. Because if you contribute something of value, you will get 10x back from that. I am brilliantly excited about this possibility for myself, for you, and for every company and person in the world. I do read a lot, and the two authors that I've read recently that have been very good, because I read a lot, is the name is coming up. But John Lehrer latest book, and I love John Lehrer because he's a neuroscientist, and he gets like really deep into what makes people think, and what makes people do the things that they do. And so I like John Lehrer's recent book, and I like Dan Ariely. Anything Dan Ariely writes. He had a podcast, he has a blog, he has a book, and I read anything that Dan Ariely writes. And I've met him, such a brilliant, wonderful guy, great story. And then amongst my loyal readings are, we've got Seth Godin speaking at this conference. I read everything Seth writes, book, blog, ebook, paper napkins, anything. Because I love Seth's ability to infuse life with common sense and to make very complex ideas simple. So those are three people who help me, who challenge my thinking and help me think a little differently by providing new, interesting information from very different perspectives. The other thing I would say is that if you go to my blog, on the bottom right, you'll see the top 10 blogs that I read, my favorites. And one of the common themes you'll find in that is that there is no theme, right? There is a blog with marketing, there's a blog about social, there's a blog about food, there's a blog about creativity and design. And so one of the things I encourage people to do is not limit them to understanding just a silo, but seek out different things that excite you, different things that you're passionate about, and consume content outside of your core space. Because I can't tell you how much I have been influenced by content that is not in my core space. It allows me to have a more well-rounded view of the world. So that's the other quick sort of tip that I would share when it comes to consuming content. Get out of your comfort zone. I tell people that I have like 3 different jobs. I have like a full-time job, and I have a startup, Market Motive, that I run, and I've co-founded, and then I have the speaking, and then for free, I have the blogging, and I have the social channels. So I end up having 3 or 4 jobs and work 80 hours a week. But I'm actually pretty ruthless about making choices. I'm very, very ruthless. And so here's a simple thing, right? There are 600 social channels in the world. And I could spend all my life just doing that. And yet I am mostly participating in just 2 social channels. And what I do is whenever something new comes up, I'll go experiment with it, and I'll see what the impact is, who the audience is, how they're engaging, and things like that. And at the end of it, if I find that it doesn't play against the strengths that I have, or it doesn't create economic value for me, I kill it. And so one of the things that I have learned is to be ruthlessly efficient, not chase the coolest thing in the world, but to try and figure out how to meet those 2 criteria. And whenever I've done that, I think it helps me make better choices. I also am always hyper-connected. That is very, very great. I'm one of those people who read the subject line and delete the email because you don't have a lot of time and you have to focus. I also have a brilliant person who helps me manage my time in a very, very hyper-efficient way. Puts me on planes that have Wi-Fi so that I can make use of the time that I have. And then the other thing that I think is also very important is that I normally get home around 5:30 or so, and then I'm completely off the web until 9:30 or 10 when my kids go to bed. On the weekend, I'm completely off the web from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the night. And I think that it's a very important part of my life that I spend the time with my family and my kids, but also that you just disconnect from all of these other things. So I try to find always these micro efficiencies and places where I can have some flexibility and live and breathe in a slightly different way, and that helps me manage my time a lot better. So I grew up in India and with the Hindu religion. I'm not a particularly religious person, and I learned this thought idea about karma, and that stayed with me a lot. And if I engage with the world, that word influences me profoundly. Is what are you doing today to add value to the world rather than yourself? And it influenced me deeply. There is one other thing that is an overriding factor in my life, and that also comes a little bit from the religion, but although in my religion there is a belief on what happens after you die, whatever, I have come to believe that this is it. You get one shot, this is it. And if there's something after this, fabulous, there's only upside for me. I don't believe that, right? And so one of the things this realization has influenced me is that to try and use this one chance we have to figure out how to deliver good karma to other people, because this is your only shot. And it means making choices that are good, it means adding value to other people in life, and being motivated by the fact that this is our one chance, and if you end up adding a lot of value to the world, something will come back to you. And I think that at the end of the day, that is the source of my passion, right? And it didn't take a lot for me to decide. For example, when I was writing my first book, I said to my wife, this book kind of came from my blog, and our blog is free. There's no advertising. I don't ask for anything. I just write. And I said to my wife, we got $10,000 from Wiley. Let's donate it all to charity, because we're never going to get a check for $10,000. It's a big check. And my wife said, yes, of course, let's do that. And we did that again for the second book. And in the 3 years that the 2 books have been out, we've managed to donate $250,000 to charity. And I cannot tell you how much joy that brings me, how much it makes me feel great that through this medium in which we live, this thing, the internet thing, has allowed me through practicing the thing that I believe in to go back and add value to other people in the world in a very small, tiny way, in both contributing something but also actual material ways. So I think that as we find the things that are very important to us, I've come to realize that this is a fabulous way to make your life better and actually have a better impact on other people. The thing that I'm actually quite excited about and spending a lot of time with recently is, unsurprisingly, the intersection of traditional digital channels, search, Bing, Yahoo, social, and mobile. So there is this acronym that people have come up with, SOLO-MO, social, local, and mobile. And I'm actually very excited about all the possibilities that exist in front of us at the intersection of these things. And what does it mean for traditional advertising? So I've been spending a lot of time with some companies running experiments and running new marketing ideas through these things to figure out what is real and what is unreal in a world that holds so much promise. So I showed a graph in my keynote where 1% of advertising is being spent on mobile in the United States, and 23% of the time by consumers is being spent on mobile. So you can see how that graph is kind of influencing me to experiment with the SOLO-MO and trying to figure out how we can use the intersection of these three interesting social, local, mobile and traditional advertising to find people and give them something of value, engage with them in not so much a way that we do TV, where our best hope is to interrupt people and hoping that they need us, to kind of being a part of people's lives. And this shift from interruption to trying being a part of people's life is a thing that I'm very excited about and experimenting with. Maybe when I come back next year, we'll have some stories to tell, but that's where I'm spending a lot of my sort of bleeding edge time, if you will.